so at number 1, it says a certain number is multiplied by 3. So let me just close this pen, sorry. Now that certain number we're going to call x. So a certain number multiplied by 3. My pen doen weer allerhande snaakse goedjies. And then decreased by 2. The answer. Stop. Battery. Sorry, hello. X times 3, yes, it's fine. Because that's the same as 3x. Oh, dankie toch. The answer is 16. Okay, so I take that 2 over, so it becomes plus 2. So that's how I get the 18. Now I want to get rid of the coefficient, so I divide by 3. And that means that x will be 6. Okay, right. Now, in number 2, it says, my brother is 6 years older than I am. So do you know how, not you, the you in the book, do we know how old you are? No. So we're going to call that x. Okay, so your brother would then be x plus 6 because your brother is 6 years older than you are, right? Okay, now it says our combined age. So I'm going to take my age plus, because I'm combining, my brother's age, and that will be equal to, our combined age is half the age of our grandfather. Our grandfather is 68. So I'm going to say a half times that. Does that make sense, you guys? Yeah? You could have, yes. Okay, so basically, if I go and simplify that, I'm going to get 2x plus 6 is equal to 34. Now we take the 6 over, so 2x, and now I've got to minus the 6, so I'm going to get 28, which means that x is 14. Now, what's the question? How old am I? X is 16, so therefore I am, not 16, 14, sorry. So I am 14 years old. Huh? Yes, and your brother's 20. But I think they only asked, how old am I? Yeah. Yes.
I didn't see the part where it says we are half his age.
Okay, right. Can I skip?
Yeah.
Right, number 3. Number 3 says a number squared. Now, we don't know what that number is, so that number we call x. A number squared, so x squared, and then doubled, so I'm going to say 2 times that is equal to 242. Do you guys all understand how I got to that equation? Ek hou van jou hoed. It's mooi. Dis baie mooi. I like it. Yeah. It's mooi. Okay, so this will be 121. Now, I've got to get rid of that square, so I'm going to say x will then be square root of 121. And have a look. X will be plus or minus, 11. Yeah. Steps. What, you did it with trial and error? Huh? I can now say. Yeah, but they specifically wanted or I wanted, it didn't say that in wording in the textbook, but I wanted you to get an equation and from there work out the unknown. What did you ask? Okay, she's asking why the plus minus. Because whenever we have an even root or even number at our root, in this case square root, so 2 even number, then your answer can be positive or negative, because positive 11 times positive 11 gives me 121, right? Yeah, man. And I'm busy explaining that. And then negative 11 times negative 11, those two negatives multiplied would also give me a positive 121. Okay, so we don't know, would it be positive or negative, so you've got to give me both answers. Okay, right. Any other questions here? Okay, so now we've got to solve equations using factorization, exactly like we had in the previous chapter, no? Do you remember when we factorized? Okay. Okay, right. Grade 9, listen. So, for now, I am going to give you the factorized equation. And then from there, you've got to solve x. Right? Little later on in the chapter, I'm going to ask you to first factorize and then solve. Okay? So bit by bit. So for now, it will always be factorized already. So what I'm going to use as an example is x plus 2 and then x minus 3, and we say it's equal to 0. Okay. Now, step 1, make sure everything is on the right. On the left, sorry. Everything on one side and equal to 0. Okay, so that's the first step. Now you will see that I have everything on the one side and I've got it equal to 0. No, so that step was already done for me. But I've got to show you this because there are going to be examples when it's not the case. So then you've got to remember to take everything to one side, usually the left-hand side, and then make it equal to 0. Okay. Now, why is that 0 important? And this is basically how we would be able to solve x. Now, we know that anything times 0 will be 0. So using that principle, I'm going to solve here. So basically what we do, let's say I'm going to make that bracket equal to 0. So if I take the bracket from, net 'n stukkie geskryf en nou is alweer moeg. Make that bracket equal to 0. Nee? Then it means that x will be, if I take that plus 2 over, x will be minus 2. Okay? Hold on. I'm still getting to the point. I want you guys to take your calculator. Okay? Because what I'm saying is, if x is minus 2, then your answer will be 0. So let's go substitute in. So instead of x, I'm going to say minus 2 plus 2, and then minus 2 minus 3. How much does that give me? 0. No. Do you guys see that? Why? Because, have a look, that will be equal to 0. And then minus 2 minus 3 gives me minus 5. But it doesn't matter what's written in this bracket, because 0 times anything will still give me 0. So even if I had inside this bracket, even if I had x in that bracket, my answer will still be 0. Do you guys agree? No. So can you see? Yeah? I'm not finished yet. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So do you see that when I make my first bracket 0, then this whole equation would be equal to 0? No. Okay. But that's not the other option. You will have 2 answers for x here. And now because I've got 2, I can't say x is minus 2 and x is something else. I must say or, because it's either. No? Okay. Or I take this bracket and make it equal to 0. Because then I will have x plus 2 and that bracket I make 0. So will this then eventually still give me an answer of 0? Yeah, because that bracket multiplied with 0 will give me 0. Does that make sense, people? Okay, so x minus 3, meaning that bracket, I make 0, which means that if x is positive 3, this equation will also be equal to 0. So that is my answer. Okay, so because there's 2 brackets, I will have 2 answers for x. Okay, so if there's 3 brackets, I will have 3 answers for x. Hey, do you guys understand what I mean? So basically we use that, I almost want to say the 0 rule. No? Okay, to solve x. So what can I write here as a step? Can I say use 0 rule? Will it make sense to you guys? Yeah. So if it was equal to, let's say, 5 over here, can't do it. Because there's so many different options to get to 5. But there's only one method to get to 0. No. Okay. So that's why our first step is you have to make it equal to 0. Okay. Use 0 rule to solve brackets or x. Does that make sense? Of hoe gaan ons dit skryf? Nee, julle verstaan wat ek bedoel. Okay, can we do one more? Nee? Nee, ons gaan nog 'n klaar doen. But then I want you guys to try on your own just now. Ek het nou net vir gesê a little later on, but it's not so much later on. Okay, let's say it was x plus 1, x minus 5 equal to 0. Okay, so step 1, make sure everything is on the one side, and then the other side we have equal to 0. Do we already have that? Yes. Okay, so step 2, wie eet narkies? Narkies of lemoen of something. Someone's eating. Better. Okay. Step 2 is we use that 0 rule to solve the brackets or x. Okay, so I'm going to take this bracket and I make it equal to 0. So x plus 1 equal to 0. So x will be minus 1. Okay, you have to say or. Okay. People, in matric, if you leave out that or, you don't get your mark. Because technically you're saying there's 2 answers for x. And it isn't. It's the one or the other. No. Okay. So x minus 5 equal to 0. So we take the minus 5 over, so it becomes positive 5. You fine with that? Yeah.
So what's the final answer?
Both. You get a mark for this minus 1 and you get a mark for the 5.
There's going to be 2 answers for A.
Yes. And we have to say or, because if we don't say or, it's like I substitute in minus 1. No, wait. I substitute in the 5 in the first bracket and then substitute in the minus 1 at the other bracket. Will it now still give me 0? Kyk hoe eet daai ene. Wat maak jy? Kou jy jou tong? Nee. Do you guys see why it has to be either minus 1 at every x value or we use 5 at every x value? No. Yeah. Right. Any questions? Ja. Wag, ekskuus, hierdie girls moet net gou eers hulle strooi uitsort. Okay. Zero. Yeah. Yeah. So we take the bracket, make it equal to 0, get what x is. Same at the second. I take the second bracket, the x minus 5, make it equal to 0, and then solve what x is. Okay. Any other yeah? Yeah? I'm just going to say solve x. Ek gaan dit nou sommer met julle doen. Okay. Right. Any further questions here? Nee, wag hier. Ja? Yeah? Yeah, but I'm making this bracket equal to 0. So 0 times that bracket, doesn't matter what's written in there, will still give me 0. Okay. Right. Now, what I'm going to do now is 2x squared plus 16x equal to minus 30. Okay, now, first things first. And all I'm saying is solve x. Julle tweekies, kyk hierso. All I'm saying is solve x. Okay, what was our very first rule? Yes, okay, so that's my first step. So 2x squared plus 16x. Take the 30 over, so it becomes plus 30 equal to 0. Okay, so now I've got it equal to 0. Okay, so maybe just fill in here. You guys, put an extra step in. Yeah, man, wat gaat er aan? Wag gou. No, but I want it in front. Ach, my lieve vader. Okay, step 2. Just write it in there, factorize. And then step 3 is use the 0 rule. Okay, right. Yes? They're just going to say solve x. No, you've got to know you make it equal to 0. That's the only way you can solve x. Okay, I'm assuming what you see is keep it like that. Okay, and then you want to take out a common factor. Okay, so let me just test. No? So let's say I take out a common factor of 2x. Then I'll have x plus 8 equal to minus 30. Now, usually we would take this to the other side. But then I'm going to have x plus 8 equal to minus 30 divided by 2x. So now I've got an x on this side and an x on that side. So can you see why I get stuck? Huh? You can do it, but you're going to get stuck. And then you know. Go back to it. Nee, maar jy gaan dit genoeg oefen. Jy gaan sien. It's usually when they say solve x. Huh? Ja, is ook in die eksamen. Okay, right. So we took it to the left and made it equal to 0. Now, what do you see? What do we have on the left-hand side? A trinomial. No. But do you guys remember what did we do when we had a coefficient for the x squared? We took it out as a common factor. Okay, so let's do that first. So I'm going to have x squared plus 8x okay, right. Now I can factorize that trinomial. Ooh, can you guys still remember how to do that? Okay, let's see. Factors of x will be, wait, because that's a plus, what will my signs be? Plus, plus or minus, minus, but we look at that sign. So I know, I said it would be x plus and x plus. Yes. You could. Sheriff. Okay, right. Now, what is factors? Factors of 15. It's 5 and 3 to get 8. No? So I'm going to say plus 5 plus 3. You guys good with that? Okay. Now it looks like the ones that we had in example 1 and 2. No, the only difference is there's a 2 in front. But just to show you, let's say I make my first bracket 0. It would be 2 times 0 times x plus 3. And wouldn't that still give me 0? So can you guys see why this 2 in front, it's not going to influence anything. Do you guys understand? Does it make sense? Will we say no? Yes, no. Okay, have a look. Okay, Coco. 2 times 0 will give me 0. Okay, so that's 0 times the bracket 0. No? Yes. 15 will be 15 times 1 or 5 times 3. And remember, I've got to use those to get this number. Yeah. Opposite of FOIL, yes. Factorizing, yeah. Remember we did that in the previous chapter. Yeah. No. When there's no equal sign, when it's just an expression, then they'll say factorize. But when there's an equal sign, they will say solve x. Okay. Right. So are you guys? You fine now with the 5 and the 3, buddy? Sorry. Are you fine? Huh? Okay. Right. So I would then say let's take that bracket and make it equal to 0. So x plus 5 equal to 0, which means that x will be minus 5. Okay. Or make that bracket equal to 0. So x will be minus 3. Yes. Huh? No, it's the doofy. And you also don't have to make these little arrows, no? Is ja, jy hoef nie, sorry. Dis maar net my manier van doen.
So, ma'am, if I do it in the face. So, ma'am, what happens? So, nothing happens to the two.
No. The two, waar sit jy nou? O, jy het gevra. Wie het gevra nou van die twee?
No, she asked now.
Okay, so the 2, because I'm making my bracket 0, 2 times that bracket of 0 will still give me 0. So that's why the 2 doesn't really, it's not influenced at all. If, and we'll get to that a little later, let's say I have, can I skip? Okay, I'll write it here at the bottom. Let's say, and this actually only comes later on, but let's say we have something like that. Then, listen, we treat this x as if it's his own bracket. No? So meaning, if I look at that one, x is equal to 0, no? Because I make the bracket equal to 0. And over here, make the bracket equal to 0, so x will be minus 2. Okay, so the only time when when we have to do that is if it's an unknown. If it's a normal constant, like we have here, doesn't matter, it's not going to influence anything. Yeah? This two. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes, sorry. Sorry. You don't have to. Maar je kan? Ja.
So then you write the alphabet in the test. Must you write it in color or can you just continue?
Nee, jy gaan net aan. Ja. You can? Ja. Ja? Jy kan, maar as dit vir jou gaan ekstra tyd vat, dan nee. Nee? So it just should not steal some math time, that's all. Yeah. Okay, you guys good? Are you ready to try one on your own? A hard one. I'm going to give you 2. An easy one. Ooh, let's test. Ja. Nee, hulle is albei so 'n bietjie moeilik. Nou gooi ek julle sommer lekker. Same principles. At example 5, make sure it's equal to 0. Already is. And then what do? We make each bracket equal to 0. No? And example 6, make it equal to 0. What's step 2? Factorize. What, the exam? I don't know, I still have to set it up. I set it up according to your what you learn. So I looked at what I want to ask. And then No. It's got to be according to what you learned.
Yeah, but it's not just a question.
Like straightforward. And then one.
Ask the question and be like, no, what do you mean? You basically have to give the correct answer. So.
What does one do? Simple questions.
Kom nou, so doen gou simple number 5 and 6.
My number 6 is something
You done?
Number 6 isn't quite straightforward.
Not quite.
And you see,
Did you factorize?
and you know it's under 80%, then you know you
Yeah. Well, excuse. This was, sorry. Dis hoekom. Sorry.
If you know it is under 80%, then you know we have a very difficult test. Under 90, that's
What's gonna happen then? When you
Kom nou, Chris, julle wat so lekker gesels. Are you done? Because you're wasting your homework time, né?
know what's gonna go?
Huh?
And then period 30 minutes.
How many? Okay, right. Number 5. So this first, okay, I already had it equal to 0. So let's take the first bracket and make it equal to 0. So the way that I'm writing it now is how you will have it in the test. So can you see I have no arrows, no? So it's not necessary. So x is minus 4. Or if I take second bracket and make that equal to 0. This was the tricky part. You just had to remember. Okay, so 2x will be equal to positive 1. So x will be a half. Who got that? Yes, you can, yeah. Who got that? Sien julle slim kindertjies? Okay, example 6. Step 1, make sure everything is on the one side and equal to 0. Done that. Okay. Step 2, factorize. So I take out a common factor of 2. So then I have that. Now, the bracket is difference in 2 squares. So you will have x plus 2, x minus 2. And now I make each bracket 0. So if I take the first one, make it equal to 0, it means that x will be minus 2. Or if I take the second bracket, make that equal to 0, then x will be 2. Who got that? See. Yes, your hand is up. Okay, so what you did.
I didn't see 8 as 8.
Huh?
8 as 16. Don't ask me how.
Nee, dit was 16. It was 16 and then I changed it. Yeah. So you just didn't look up at that stage. It's fine. Okay, right. Can I give homework? Not can I give homework. Can I skip to the next slide? I know. We're going, eh? Just listen to what you guys are saying. Ma'am, we're playing. Meaning we won't have time. Ma'am, and there's a sokkie. So we have time. Right, there we go.